Hi, my name's Luke, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about social enterprise and doing social good in business. First, a little bit about me. I'm an entrepreneur. I've started quite a few projects. The first is Squarewave. It's a web development company based in Fitzroy. The second is Ourse, which is a social enterprise. It's an e-democracy platform connecting citizens to decision makers. And the third is Grace, which is a cafe based in Fitzroy. So first of all, what do I really mean when I talk about social enterprise? When I think about social enterprise, I mean a business that has as one of its core objectives making the world a better place. And maybe that's environmental, maybe that's societally, maybe that's in particular reference to a particular problem, or maybe it's really generalist. I think there's a lot of really interesting social enterprises, kicking up at the moment. It's really interesting to see some of the different ways that they work. I think really there's kind of three models that we can think about when you look at how businesses can do social good. The first of these is around tithing. And tithing is essentially where you have a business that donates away some of its profits. And so it might donate them in ways that are in line with the work that it does or completely unrelatedly. So you might have a business that is a supply chain business and then donate some of its money to do carbon offset credits because, saving the environment is kind of related to the way that they do business. Other organisations have CSR departments and will donate money because they need to from a promotional point of view or a reputational point of view. And so you get some organisations that will give away money because they need to as a marketing expense. Now all of these do some good. I mean, the money is still hopefully going to a good place, but there's not really much of a connection between the work that the organisation does and the good that they're trying to achieve by donating some of that money. The second model is what I call buy one, give one. And buy one, give one is where part of the way that the organisation works is that they're selling a product or a service and in return they're giving away something that's related to the product or service that they're selling. So for example, there's an organisation called Thank You Water, and Thank You Water sell bottled water. And you can buy it at 7-Eleven or all kinds of places around. But part of the projects that Thank You Water do is they put money towards water quality projects in other countries. And so the good that they're doing is linked back to the product that they're selling. Another example is Who Gives a Crap. Who Gives a Crap is a project that sells toilet paper and does toilet paper delivery. And the good that they do is they put money into sanitation projects all around the world. And so the product that you buy is directly linked to the social good that the organisation is trying to do. And obviously this means that as you buy the product or you experience the service, you're experiencing something of the condition that maybe the organisation is trying to solve. You can see that it's quite different from tithing, both in constraint but also in benefit. So you have to really design the organisation to be thinking in that way. How are you going to tie together the core product and the core good? As opposed to tithing, where you can be running a whiteboard business and donate money to poverty in another country that's completely unrelated to your whiteboards business. The third model that I think is really interesting is shared value. And the shared value idea, there was a great article in the Harvard Business Review by Porter and Kramer where they started to talk about shared value as a new way of doing business. And in this model, the core activity of the business is also the social good. And so one example would be an organisation like Ourse. At Ourse, the core activity of their business is about reconnecting citizens to decision makers. So to do that, we have an online platform where you can get online and ask questions and vote for other people's questions. And the questions that get the most votes go to the leader and they have to answer those questions. And so that's the core activity of the business, is about that reconnection. And that's also how the organisation makes money, because we charge for that service. And in different ways, different kinds of customers pay to acquire that service. And so the thing that you're selling is actually driving a social good very inherently. Another example is a project called FutureSpark. FutureSpark have a trailer, a big trailer, and on the trailer there are bikes that are tied up to generators. And you can get on the bikes and pedal and generate electricity. And so they'll take this trailer or they'll take standalone units to events, and you can get on bikes and actually learn very, very viscerally exactly how much power you can actually generate with your body. And most people realize it's not very much. And so the core activity, which is about taking these power generation units to events or programs or promotional activities, is also the educational piece. And so the core activity has both the business but also the social good involved in it. There's a great line in the Porter and Kramer piece where they talk about shared value creation focuses on identifying and expanding the connections between societal and economic progress. And I think in that third model, that's really what you're looking at, is how do you find those connections? How do you work with those connections? How do you create those connections? And then how do you make those connections really strong so that the core activity is doing both halves of that coin? Now, across the three models, I haven't really said anything about their viability of the businesses, and I'm not sure that it's really appropriate to. They're different ways of doing business. I think you can have very profitable businesses in the third category, in the shared value category. You can also obviously have very profitable businesses in the first category. From a legal point of view, in Australia there's no entity yet for social enterprises. There's a movement called the B Corp movement. In the States, actually, in some of the states of the United States, there is a legal entity called a B Corp, which is around formalising the role of these kinds of organisations in legislature. In Australia we don't have it yet, but maybe we'll have it soon. And so if you already have an organisation, how can you start thinking about how you're doing social good inside your organisation? So I can take SquareWeave as an example. So SquareWeave is a web development company, and so generally the web development doesn't have an inherent social good component. However, we've decided that we're really passionate about making the world a better place, so we've tried to take a few other approaches. And the approaches that we've taken kind of have a positive side and a negative side. On the negative side, we've decided that we simply won't work with some industries. So for example, we don't do work with tobacco. On the positive side, we've gone out and identified a whole lot of different kinds of organisations that are doing social good in the world, and then approached them to try and work with them directly. And so we're really focusing on building our skill set inside the organisation around doing social good and working on social good projects. The other thing is that we're very aware of these kinds of things within the office environment itself, so being environmentally friendly and all these kinds of things. There's also something about rediscovering the business that you already have, and I really love the eBay example. When eBay was started, it was around running online auctions. But you can think of eBay quite differently. You can actually think of it as the world's biggest recycling platform. And so when you re-look at an existing platform or project or business through a different lens, sometimes you can find different ways to foster different elements. So if you're looking to grow eBay, are you looking to grow the auction close rate, or are you looking to grow the resale value, or are you looking to grow all these different elements, and how do you decide which elements to focus on? Part of that decision is going to be based on how you perceive the business. Porter and Kramer have three different ways that they suggest that you can start to look at these kinds of things. So the first is about reconceiving products and markets. And so that's about rethinking about what the market is actually looking for and looking at how you explain different elements of value and your value offering when you have a product. It's also about redefining productivity in the value chain. So how do you actually change the way that things are evaluated so that your product offering is more persuasive or appealing? And finally, around enabling local cluster development. So how do you cluster those things together so that you can make that social good? So I think in social enterprise and doing social good, there are these three models. You've got this tithing idea, you've got buy one, give one, and you've got shared value. And I think at all three levels, you can start to re-examine in your organisation how you might be able to apply each of those three areas. Thanks for your time.